going to talk about Midnight Mass that is on Netflix. It is a Netflix series that is out here doing its thing. Let's jump right into it. Jason, what did you think of Midnight Mass on Netflix?
All right, this show, I believe it's another one of Michael Flynn. I believe the director, creator, slash creator, his name is. Um, Jaron, fact check me on that. But he has a number of other Netflix shows: The Haunted in Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor,
Mm-hmm.
Gerald's Game,
Yes.
and he has been knocking it out of the park for the most part. Uh, and in this show, I feel like, and this is one of the shows that was a personal thing for him. It's his first non-adapted work. It's actually 100%. I mean, you could probably make aspersions towards Salem's Lot, but this is something that he created himself. And yeah, this show very much a slow burn. Not a lot of jump scares, even though there's one that fucking like
Mm-hmm.
but like visual storytelling, the characters in this show, the discussions of religion and what they mean, what it means to people, um, and also the conversations about death and what that means for people. Oh my god, I ate everything up on this, and the way that things were made that there wasn't really, even though that bad things were happening, people were doing it in their minds for a good reason. They were, Father Paul was in his mind was trying to save his town and help out his loved ones. Of course, he went in a very shitty direction with it, but he didn't have any, like, it wasn't like an animosity sort of thing. It wasn't like he did it out of hate or jealousy, unlike what's her face, the
Bev Keenan.
Bev Keenan, who is just a despicable human being.
You mean the Kirkland brand Dolores Umbridge?
Shit, she's worse than Dolores Umbridge in my book. Fuck that bitch. But yeah, every part of this, like, I love poor Matt Schofield, Matt Saracen from Friday Night Lights. I can't remember. Riley, that's the character name.
Oh, main guy.
Like, it's just, I love this show. It was just so good. There was things in there that that really, really hit me in my heart, my feels. At first, you have the fact that Riley has kind of embarrassed his family by, killing this poor young woman. He feels, completely terrible about it. He feels that he's a waste of a human being. You have his dad, who's kind of like estranged from him because of, and it wasn't even really because of what the actions that he did. It was because of a whole other things. But you also have the fact that, his dad, because of this religious figure coming back to town, was like, hey, I'm sorry that I treated you like shit because I just didn't know how to deal with it. I'm sorry. And he actually apologizes to his son. And, things like that don't happen in real life very often, where your parents or people, your loved ones, come to you and say, I'm sorry for my part in the way I've made you feel, and I thought those little moments like that were just wonderful and excellent. And, there's not much.
It helps when a wheelchair bound girl is.
Oh, dude, yeah,
giving her
that part
feedback.
where she forgave, Joe.
Oh,
and because Joe didn't even forgive himself. Joe didn't Joe hated himself for what he did to her.
He's trying to drink himself to death.
He was literally trying to drink himself to her. He never wanted her forgiveness because he couldn't forgive himself. And the fact that she, not only tells him how he made her feel, but then in the end forgives him. And this is the whole show is about. It's just like finding your own forgiveness in the things that you've done. Especially at the end when all the bad stuff happens, a lot of the characters, they realize what they did was wrong, and they just, had to seek forgiveness amongst themselves because, there ain't shit else was happening. Sorry, Jared, this is a spoiler alert for you.
Sure, yeah.
But it's just like one of those shows that, the ending is so bitter, but it's also very sweet that I just can't help but love this stuff like this. So I don't want to get into. There's so much going on that I cannot get into all the specifics of it. But there is so much going on in this. There's so many different twists and turns and things. But the one spoiler that I will say, it's a motherfucking vampire. Y'all should have known that from the beginning. It's a fucking vampire.
You look like an angel to me.
Don't look like no
Man
motherfucking
of
angel look
God
like
is
that.
seeing
That's a
angels,
fucking
yeah.
vampire right there. You should have saw that from the fucking get go. But understand why you weren't thinking straight because you were senile and you had dementia. But yeah, I love this show. Go on, Jason, tear it apart.
No, I mean, you know, I'm the resident probably horror guy on the show for the most part. Everything you said, I mean, even from the Salem lot thought process, everything I'm right there with. The only issue I had is that I feel like he was telling such a big story that it felt like he had to rush it to the ending. And because look, you're right. A lot of the things they were hitting on, a lot of the conversations they were having was just gold. I mean, the PTA meeting conversation.
Oh my
I could
God,
have
that was
watched.
so awesome.
I could have watched 10 more minutes of that. Like,
Wait,
just
the one
like
with the Bible, where they're upset about the
yeah,
Bible being handed out?
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And so I could have watched 10 more minutes of that. The conversation with the death thing I thought was kind of cheesy, and I think that's because the character of Riley, the guy that plays him, he's just not a strong actor, and it's cool.
Lance Saracen, man.
He's just not strong. Yeah, he's just not a strong actor, man. In this, let me say that in this, he doesn't seem very. He didn't know how to emote very well, and he just didn't seem as troubled as we would like. His troubled look sad. That shows you're troubled. Like it wasn't any nuance to it. I did like him and you know Pastor Paul's conversation. Even when he what happens with him, and he's talking about him forgiving himself and why he can forgive himself for his act, but why he couldn't. And I thought that was a very great conversation. Also, the thing I love the most about this is that you could tell this is probably written by somebody who is probably the average person when it comes to religion. Depending on what day you talk to me, it will determine how religious I probably am that day, depending on what's going on. And it felt like that for this movie because the different characters fleshed out different aspects of the whole religious spectrum, from the non-believers to the doubters, to the people that believed in science, to the overzealous, to the ones that blindly follow, to the ones that don't question. Like all the spectrums you can think about religion-wise that you have for people that are in and out of it, it hit very well. And I thought that was a very, very, very poignant thing. The only other end of that, it was sometimes conversations that were had that I thought were just, hey, we're trying to make this character a little more fleshed out. So let's have this conversation to make you feel they're fleshed out. Like the sheriff, the conversation with the scientists,
The Sharif.
Sharif the sheriff. Like we didn't need the whole 9/11 and blah, blah, blah. He literally could have said that whole conversation is, you want me to go look under this church when people there think I'm fucking Osama bin Laden? Would have summed it all up for us, and we'd have been like, cool. His son said earlier they left because of racism. I didn't need this whole 9/11 story. I didn't need it. And I felt like, it was cool, but who was that for?
It's kind
who
of
was that conversation for? Yeah. But I'm saying, even that, like, I think all the conversations had a purpose for people in a certain state of minds. Who was that conversation for? Because the people that don't believe in the racism in the police department aren't going to listen to him and go, you know what? He's right. Maybe the police department should be held accountable. And the people who already know it, like us, we're not looking at it and going, I'm so glad they put this out on TV. Like, no, if either you know or you don't, it didn't really, it didn't fit a narrative there. I think it just was there because they wanted you to try to relate to him or feel something for him. So what ended up happening to him is a more tragic moment. But it didn't translate for me very well on that one. So it was some moments in some conversations that I'm like, you could have skipped out. But all in all, like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And to your angel and vampire thing, here is my resounding theory on it, is that none of us have seen an angel that we can talk about. We know what white Jesus looks like, and we know what white angels look like. Does not mean that's what Jesus or angels really look like.
I know what Korean Jesus looks like.
But and even the point of them even saying every time that they showed him, he made the comment about how in the Bible everybody was fearful of angels. Yeah. Now, if we talk about the angels that are drawn on glass, that are blonde hair, blue eyes with wings, no one's going to be afraid of that. So you have to make the assumption by just to push a logic that something about angels looked weird to what human beings perceived it to be, and that's why in the Bible they all were afraid of it. Which bring in vampire, homie. That is something that if I saw walking down the street, I would be freaked out about. So when you tell me that, hey, this is what a real angel looks like, and that's why everybody in the Bible was freaked out, I'm gonna be like, that makes sense because that dude look like a vampire, and I'm gonna rock with it. Especially if you
one of
watch
those Nosferatu vampires too, not one of those
But also put in context too that these people in this congregation have seen the impossible being done. So if that guy who's been doing the impossible tells me I have nothing to fear from this vampire, I'm not going to fear the vampire. I think that's an easy, logical thing to say. From making a chick walk, from making people younger, from curing people from blind, all the time he's done. I'm going to believe the pastor at this point because he's done so much great stuff.
I agree to you up to the point where they're like, "Hey, drink this rat poison." Then I'm like, "Nope, this is a cult now. This is a cult now, and I'm going to leave."
I was going to say for us that is the blackness in us because we know how many times. I mean, you said the cult shit. Cults happen,
yeah,
and there ain't a lot of us in these cults that is happening to. So it's very believable for me that they would have drank that rat poison. I'm just going to throw it out there. So, but yeah, that's why I said the whole, because even at first I was like, that's kind of whack that like this, they believe in this vampires. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm thinking about it as a horror guy and not an overly religious guy. So that's why I'm tripping. But if I'm overly religious and my pastor who's doing miracles is telling me, don't fear this Joker, I'm a ride with it. Yeah. Also, I will admit the best thing in here that kind of helped but ruined it. I was watching it with my wife. And my first thing my wife said was, man, why all these people got this bad makeup? They must be trying to show them younger later on. And I go, oh, fuck. And it started making me piece everything together.
Every time they flash that old guy stumbling around fucking Jerusalem, I'm like, that's a young guy with makeup.
Bad makeup. That's number one. The old face makeup in this is terrible. It is horrible.
Yeah.
So bad. Yeah.
But the problem is that like, once she said that, I put everything together very almost. She said it like episode 2, and I was like, shit, I know what's going on. So that's what only I would say it hurt me because the makeup was so bad that my non-movie watching wife put that together quickly, and it made me string all together and go, oh, I know what's going on now. And
does the doctor's mom get young?
Oh, she gets very young.
Okay, because there's a shot in episode 2. It's a side shot of her face, and it's bad. The old person makeup is bad. So. Yeah,
the lady they got to play that actress is like 21 or some shit.
Actually, that is the exact scene when Jess was like, "Oh, their makeup from them is really bad. They must be going to play something like that scene." We should talk about is exactly when she said it. So
yeah.
But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. I thought it was cool. I thought it was the best kind of horror where they were telling the story. It was suspenseful, but it wasn't so overladen with mystery that it wasn't to the point where I'm trying to figure out the mystery more than paying attention to what's going on. It actually made me want to know what's going on, but also cared about the conversations being had around this whole thing. So,
but I wrote this on Facebook. Y'all need to start closing your windows at night, okay? Because when the sheriff turns off his lamp and the fucking vampire is looking in the window, that scared the shit out of me. And I'm like, why is the window not closed?
Well, you know what's funny about that? When the pregnant girl goes to the doctor at the end of in the middle of the night for spotting, and then she's like, it's good, you can bounce, and then she leaves, the doctor locks her door. And I think to myself, I'm like, this is a small fucking ass town. Why is that doctor locking her door? I was like, this is the kind of town that you don't lock your doors in. Ironically, counter
everywhere. What are you talking about?
There's one town drunk that wanders around and sometimes ends up in the pokey for trying to break into the general store.
And it's also cool about this why it kind of negates some of the horror tropes of people just acting stupid, especially like for Bull, who's walking around at night in this town when there's obviously a vampire running around, but he walks and like if you were from a small town where you're just like someone's playing a joke on you, of course you'd be like, yeah, who's in there? Brian, is that you? I'm gonna walk in there, Whereas, if this is like the city or something like that, like
very different story.
It would be a stupid thing for a person to do.
Yes.
Right? All right. Well, Jaren, your review on your thoughts on Midnight Mass?
Well, all right. So I know that I am. So I only got through like the first 3 or 4 episodes before I got on. So and I watched them all today. So I'm a little more fresh on the beginning of this. I'm surprised none of you brought this up. My first note on this is white guy gets 4 to 10. He takes 4. Like they're like, you're going to be sentenced to 4 to 10 years in the state penitentiary. He's like, I'll take 4. And 4 years later, I was like,
we're going to do the 4.
I'm good with the 4. Thank you. You keep the 10.
we don't point this out, Jaron, because we're used to it. Like that's normalized for us.
Of course, he's
like,
only gonna be in there. I'm
Yeah.
surprised if he was a black dude, he would have got the death penalty, man.
Now, if it was a black dude that got 4 to 10, he took the 4. We'd have been like, man, a black dude got like we would have talked about that, but a white dude.
Oh
yeah.
shit! Yeah.
Tara Betts would have got. They would have thrown some extra charges on fucking Deshaun's ass.
Yeah. White dude doing it. Yeah, that's just normal.
From what I've seen so far, I really enjoy the fact that they had that conversation where Riley talks about researching all of the religion and still comes up as an atheist. That kind of made him my hero. But then you also get like all these other like valid points about other religions. Like even the religious people speak informed and eloquently about where they're coming from, and it makes you, at least gives somebody of an atheistic mind like myself, pause. It makes me realize that everybody else is an idiot. There is a valid argument to be made on the other side of it, which I appreciate, because when it's talked about in that fashion, sometimes you can forget, people that want to get rid of abortion or fight holy wars that kill hundreds of thousands of people, all that religious shit. Yeah. It did bother me immediately, though. Felt salty that our boy was apparently wealthy for a small bit of time and didn't send any money to his clearly poor fucking ass family on the island of misfits. So, made me a little sad about my atheist not helping out his folk, because we like to think of ourselves as moralistic folk.
Okay.
At one point in time, the new father makes a sermon. I think it's one of his first, and he uses like an abstract thing and then talks about lots of traffic on an island with 100 people. That I don't think I've seen a moving vehicle in the group, and he's supposed to be like, traffic guys, am I right? Sometimes
Are there cars on the island?
I didn't see one in the first 3 episodes. There were some boats on the side of roads that were just like very much on land and not in the water, but I didn't see a car. I did see a mobile home. I don't know how it got there because there was no car attached to it. Yeah. But he tries to use like getting stuck in traffic as a thing. And I'm like, he's looking out at these people. And I'm like, these motherfuckers don't understand that that's a different thing, man. They don't care about traffic. They don't experience traffic. Yeah, but I thought that was hilarious. And that's the only other note I made. I do like that they give both sides of the religious argument, like, I think, fair game. Especially when Riley and the father like kind of square off when they're alone in those Alcoholic Anonymous meetings. Riley lays into him, and everything he's saying, I'm like, yes, I feel the exact same way. Why would a God do this? Why does a God let a kid die of cancer? That kind of mentality, that idea, right? And he's like, you claim he's good, but he's only good in that he tells you can find salvation in something in suffering, which is things that he creates, like that whole thing. And then his like de-escalating of the situation, going, I have an answer for you about why I thought that girl could walk, but it's not an answer that you're gonna accept. It's you're gonna want more. I could tell you that I felt it, and my mitochondria or whatever Star Wars bullshit was going on, and the Force, or it helped me see that the girl possibly could walk, but that's not going to be enough for you. And he acknowledges, to his eternal credit, Riley goes, "You're right. I probably want more." Like, I like that. That is kind of the crux. I feel like the best arguments were made for both sides of this story about religion. And I think they were done well. And I think they were both given, one wasn't made to look stupid or far-fetched or silly. They both kind of had that's what I genuinely enjoyed, that aspect of it. Also, all of the Catholic shit, the hymns over some of the I had some serious PTSD about some old school Catholicism that I was involved with. So, I agree with Jason. Number one, as far as it being horror, there is something going on, but that is not the most pervasive thing. They kind of nestle you in as a watcher of these people in kind of a safe bubble to just experience very low, like small stakes, but interesting interreactions with these characters, like everybody. And there's something in the periphery that, something wicked this way comes. But it's never like, at least in the first 3 episodes, it's very ancillary and it's very out there. It's far away, but it's getting closer. But everything around you in the show so far is so enthralling and worth watching, and the characters are so well written and their interactions are so well put together and well acted that even though something horrible is on the horizon, you're just like, but let's figure out what's happening now. Did she poison that dog? I hate that woman. You know what I mean? Like,
and you might not have got to this yet, Jared, but
probably.
The question is, not only did she poison the dog, well, she did. She definitely poisoned the dog, but was she also poisoning the father?
Right. Like she wields that rat poison with deft precision. So, yeah. And also, she's the type. She's so fucking the type.
Such a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Discount Dolores Umbridge. This cunt.
Dollar Tree. We got Dolores Umbridge at home.
Dollar Tree Dolores Umbridge. Yes. So from what I've seen, I liked it a lot. I am sorry in advance for not realizing it was a series. I thought it was a movie. Like I joked about it earlier, probably a B movie starring Megan Fox based on the title. But I will finish it outside of the podcast because
she's a nun, where she's a naughty nun that needs to be.
Yeah. And there's a vampire. And she's got guns.
Yeah. Time to pray to Jesus.
100%. But I genuinely enjoyed it. So Jason.
Back to you, Jason.
Oh, already. I mean, yeah. Well, I guess it's up to ratings.
Yeah. Yes.
Jason, what do you give Midnight Mass?
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Okay. As I say, things that make me cry, I put an extra point on this. At the end of this, I was straight bawling. Like I was crying.
Like the Marbles episode of
like the Marble game. I think I cried worse in the end of this than I did in the Marbles episode of
really.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
because when you have because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, because I think people should definitely watch the show. Yeah. There's this point between a father and a son. You can probably guess which characters. I was crying. Right. I can't lie. I was tears running down my face. So I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 5 because I love this. Wow. This show is just so great.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna give it a 3.5. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. Sometimes it got kind of preachy, got kind of browbeaty, some points of it. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conclusion. I enjoyed how I felt like all the actions were pretty much realistic, but it did kind of sometimes be like, learn that Bible. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Jaron, what do you got on your initial watch?
For the first 3 episodes, I can give it a solid. I'm giving it a solid 3 for. If you have Netflix, absolutely watch it. I've got 4 more episodes to go. I might update that in the future, but as it stands right now, it's a solid 3. The characters are great. If you have it, watch it. You're not going to be disappointed with the first 3 episodes. I guarantee that.
And to my sister, who doesn't like scary things, it's not that scary at all. So there's only one time where I was like legitimately scared. It's not scary.
All right.